Hi everyone. I'm gonna make a quick tutorial on purchasing stuff for the club. So figure the member guide is a good place to start. This can be found in the Google Drive. I'll attach a link uh, below this video, of course. Um, so in the member guide, start out by going to page 34. I'm just going to assume that you've already kind of filled in the necessary stuff on the active budget tracker. Um, as it says here, if you haven't, don't make any purchases because it'll be a surprise and you might be uh, in a bit of a pickle. So just don't do that. So this outlines all of the details that you should plug into the budget tracker. Filling out this stuff is useful for the future as well. Most importantly, I'm only going to be looking at items that are listed as critical and that also have a date required. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume that the items listed are just kind of being kind of weighed for like whether or not we can afford them. Just if you're curious to compare different prices and different items. But the main thing is without a date, it's hard to know where to prioritize spending. So when I review the items listed in the budget tracker, it's hard for me to allocate money based on like what needs to be spent. So for this, just as kind of a bit of an example. So how this is going to work, let's pretend that we're buying these things for the competition. So like we'll be having a truck rental, we'll be buying the fuel, and let's say we're also going to rent a trailer. So these are the estimates. And accordingly, they have, days left. They have a date a date required to purchase by. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that these things have been approved. So now let's say we've purchased these and we know how much they've costed. So for truck fuel, this line will be a bit of a weird one just because there's going to be multiple expenses that will incur as we like truck across the continent realistically. So I'm going to touch on this one in a moment, but just simply off the start, let's say we rent the truck as well as the trailer. Uh, we've rented them today. Sorry, rented them today. We can say that these have been purchased. And I'll just put my name here because I've just spent that. And the cost is relatively close to the estimate here. So let's say that it was $2,500. If it's more than like 100, especially for something this large, if it's $100 or so over, it's not the end of the world. But if this turned out to be something like instead there's been serious inflation on this particular item, or our estimates were wrong, or there's like shipping fees or custom fees if we were ordering vehicle components. If there's like a serious discrepancy between the estimate and the actual cost, then just kind of use your own judgment, be sensible, either try to find a cheaper component that's more in line with the original estimate, or reach out to the finance director and the technical directors. And this way we can make sure that we aren't going to buy something that we can't afford, or if there is an alternative, we can kind of make sure that we can get an equally effective alternative and save money that way. So just be mindful of before you purchase something, try to make sure that it is within the estimated amount. So that way our budget isn't going to get shot through a window. So anyway, likewise with the trailer, once that's purchased, I'll just plug in how much it cost. let's say that costed $1,300 and we actually saved a bit of money on. So this amount here is going to be the actual total price you paid in Canadian. Were I to have spent, if this was like a USD, a US dollar amount, then this amount here will be the amount that comes off of the actual credit card statement. So I don't want to plug in 1,300 USD. I want to plug in whatever the amount charged to my credit card as it was settled in Canadian dollars. I'll kind of go over it, just confirming this, just how, like kind of as an example, how to confirm this with the gasoline, with the truck fuel example here. So this is all kind of laid out in relatively plain English in these last couple of lines here. So when in doubt, just walk through these. They should help you. They'll help make sure everything's done correctly. So then the next step is actually getting a reimbursement. So once you've made a purchase, and another critical thing, whenever you make a purchase, make sure you take a photo of the receipt. If you, for example, get fuel from a gas station, then immediately take a photo of that receipt. Make sure it's clear and legible. And I'm just saying take a photo of that receipt because losing a receipt is a serious problem. And basically, in short, treat receipts like cash. So take a photo of it as an insurance policy. You'll need to submit those photos later anyway. So once you have, once you've made the purchase and have your receipts collected, if you are making, if you're only making like that one purchase, then please go ahead and submit a reimbursement for that. The reimbursement process is slightly different for different accounts. For general club expenses, you can click on the link in the member guide here. It's going to take you to this website, sorry, not website, this document that's in the drive, which then walks you through the details on making a reimbursement from this account. Follow these steps. This spreadsheet is the form that you'll have to fill out, so it'll take you here. Don't fill it out on the drive, just download a copy for it, please. And then you can fill that out. So let's say I'll just kind of walk through how we'll do a pretend version of all the fuel expenses, mainly because it will have some different ones for both Canadian and USD expenses, and that's where kind of the most of the issues arise when we're processing reimbursements. So basically following that other previous document, yeah, this document right here, just follow it step by step. It's going to walk you through how to format your receipts. So those photos of those receipts as the photos of those receipts or any emailed receipts that you have. This will kind of guide you through how to organize those. Then once you've organized your receipts, go ahead and fill out all of this information in the Excel. I'm going to skip that for purposes of this demonstration. Okay. Some of these cells do have like a little prompt that will show you the formatting just to keep it easy for you. So yeah, it's hopefully relatively self-explanatory. But let's say, so yeah, going back to the gasoline example, in different currencies, I used ChatGPT to make a fake credit card statement that kind of goes over a US-Canada road trip. So you can refer to your own credit card statement for the amounts. Basically, the date is what you'll need. The amount in Canadian and then the amount in USD. So for these ones, it says that this was done in Vancouver. So these are all going to be in Canadian, which is fine. The important part is here where you have a charge in USD as well as a charge, or sorry, and then like the actual amount that is charged in Canadian. You can submit the receipt with the USD amount, but you will also have to include the actual settled Canadian amount, which is very important. If you tell us you need to be reimbursed for $65 US, we will reimburse you for $65 Canadian and you will get ripped off. So don't do that because that just sucks for everybody. So your credit card statement, of course, won't look like this, but anyway, so let's say that our first stop for fuel costs us is in Canadian and it's 87.65. So we'd put the date, whatever the fuel, that's going to be fuel. That's going to be, let's say, Shell or Esso or whatever. Canadian, yes, it is in Canadian. You don't need to include a credit card statement since it's in Canadian. So go carry on to the Canadian amount. And that one is 87.65. All right, and then on to the next one. So now we're in the US and we have to get gas again, a whole lot of gas off of one day. So clearly ChatGPT has not gone on many road trips, or maybe they did and they drove around in circles. Anyway, so for this one, this is where it's where certain hangups happen. So the USD amount, this one's going to be USD, yes. Credit card statement included, yes. Once again, you can see there's little drop-down menus or drop-down notes that kind of will help you out if you have any confusion. So credit card statement has been included, and I'll show you how to include that in a moment. So this one works out to 88.29. All right, and then the next one, I'm just skipping over all these descriptions just for keep streamline. Next one, Shell, USD 72.30, CAD 97, oops, CAD 97.61. And then here's another one in Canadian. So this one you wouldn't have to worry about including a credit card statement. You would just say yes, that it's in Canadian, and then you would write the Canadian amount, totals 52.45. Okay, so now each one of these has its own number. So like transaction number 1, number 2, 3, et cetera, et cetera. So for including the credit card statement, when you have any USD purchases, you can use a screenshot. You can use a screenshot, just make sure to redact any unnecessary information. So for example, this is the fuel that we got in Canada. Since you don't need to include that on the reimbursement, you can cross this out. It's all irrelevant. So this, so that. So yeah, just avoid any unnecessary information. So here we have the gas in Seattle. So we'll use that. We'll leave that one as relevant. There's one. Work this out. Okay, and then realistically, you could just, not include anything below that. So you can just screenshot the relevant stuff. Since there's two of these charges here, this one, the first one is transaction number 2, as you can see here, 88.29. So you can put number 2. And then for the one below, number 3. try to keep this as nice as possible. I'm doing this with a mouse, which is why it's a bit of a mess, but if this will be submitted to the school, so just make sure it's legible and clear. If you're submitting if there's only one item that you're submitting, then you don't need to worry about actually putting the transaction number on it. You'll be doing that in the way that you rename the credit card screenshot file, as this document here explains. So yes, it explains those details right here. So once you have done this, the most critical thing is to make sure that the amount in Canadian actually sums up to what has been charged on your credit card. So make sure that any USD amounts here actually sum up to what's being charged on your credit card in Canadian. Because as I said earlier, we're basically going to be reimbursing in Canadian only, so it's yeah, just make sure it adds up. Whatever whatever the total is here is what you're going to be getting reimbursed. If your credit card statement, if you've been charged, $335 on your credit card statement, and then we only reimburse you $326, it's an issue. So main goal is to make sure that all of this actually amounts to what you paid after conversion, like the way it was settled in your bank. So just make sure that that fits. And then once that is finished and you have all of your receipts done, and the spreadsheet all completed, you can go ahead and make a zip folder with all of this information, and then email it to the management Gmail, Okanagan Motorsports Management mgmt@gmail.com. And then we'll submit it to the school. Going back to this, so as I said, this particular line here is kind of made up of a variety of many different expenses. So I don't expect you to make a new line for every single expense. You can simply use this total amount that you're getting reimbursed, since these are all fuel. You can use this total amount here as the amount purchased. So 326, so that was what you've ended up paying. And I don't really care if it's, it doesn't all have to be its own individual date, just put like the most recent date that you purchased stuff with, and that's good enough. And then once again, just throw in that. The only reason I have like the name and the date is this way, if there's any like reimbursements that are kind of missing, I can see who needs to submit them. And then of course, once you've purchased it, make sure to switch this to purchased. Alternatively, if you are making a purchase, like if this wasn't all fuel, you can just say there was, I don't know, food for whatever reason, and you spent $54 on that. Then of course, just tally up whatever the just the fuel portion is, and then add that into this cell here. So that kind of clarifies stuff. Once that's all finished, those reimbursements will be submitted to the school, and we'll go from there. And